I'm gonna show you how to digitize this beautiful design, and it's easier than you think. Stick around till the end to watch all the best tips and tricks. Welcome back, Legacy family. Ken here. If you're watching this in your classroom, make sure to click below to download your project files. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click the link in the description to check out the EL software. Let's get started. Now, first things first, let's open up our design. So I'm going to click on my backdrop and I'm going to select load backdrop. Here I have the jellyfish image and it is so beautiful, and although it looks super complex, it's gonna be fairly easy and super fun to digitize. Now I am in version 2066 of the software, which means that we have some really cool tools like the gradient tool that we might use at the end of this design. But before we get to that, let's select our backdrop by clicking on backdrop once again, and I'm going to right click and just click on properties so that I can change the size. As you can see right now, it's 10 inches in height, which is a little bit too much, so I'm going to change this to 4 because I want this design to be 4 by 4 inches. And in the opacity, I'm just going to bring that down maybe to about 50-55%. Now, using my scroll wheel on my mouse, I'm going to zoom in, and using my space bar, by holding space bar on my keyboard, I can pan around by clicking and dragging. So here we go. That's the design. It's looking so cool, and we can get started. Now, I think this design is going to be super simple. So what we are going to do is select our run tool. We're going to start with the run tool because I want to color all of the outlines, or just cover the whole yellow outline, and we're gonna do it in kind of 2 steps. So you know what, let's just get started. Let's grab the run by clicking on the widget tool, run. I'm going to change the length from 2.5 maybe to 2 or 3. Let's put it at 3, and the input, we're going to keep it at fast draw. Now at the bottom, I'm just going to select the color red so it's easier for you guys to see. And where do I want to get started? Honestly, I think we can start anywhere we want. So I'm just going to start somewhere over here, and I'm going to left click on my mouse to put my first input down, then left click again. Now I'm going to do a red work method, which means that I put a point down. So I'm going to come this way into this little detail right here, and then I'm going to return. So without letting go of my path that I'm currently creating, I'm just going to press again, press one more time, and then press one more time. And if I click enter and I enable my 3D view, you can see that I created a path starting from here. I went all the way up here, and then I returned. And that is just because I don't want to be jumping all over the place on this design. As you can see, there are some scissors that are letting me know, hey, this is where your machine is going to trim. So to continue making sure that the machine isn't going to trim, I just want to make sure to connect all of our threads. And here I have snap to anchors enabled, which means that if I hover on top of that last stitch where the scissors are at, I can just continue by pressing left click, and I'm just gonna start doing some double passes around this area. Nothing too crazy. Here we go, and I'm just left clicking to go around, left click to create an input, and I can do right click if I want to do a curve point. But I think because we're so zoomed in into this design, I'm just going to be doing a left input. As you can see, I'm not even using this hand at all. I don't need to move my keyboard at all or anything yet. All I'm doing is with my mouse, I'm pointing to where I want to put my inputs, and then I left click all around. So here we go. I'm just going around, left clicking. Maybe here I can actually hold my space bar so that I can click and drag and pan around. And I'm just going to add on this other little thing. I know technically it's not connecting, but this is our version of the design, so I'm not really worried about all of these connections right here. So there you go, left clicking all around, adding all of these tiny details without pressing enter because there really is no need. Now, I am going to just stop right there so that you guys can see what just happened. I'm going to press enter on my keyboard, and as you can see, we pretty much created all of these little details have 2 passes, which is going to look so nice and solid. But we have the bottom part of the design. So what can we do? We can either choose to go all the way around and create this area up here, but I think I want to continue creating the long strands for now. So I'm going to press my spacebar so that I can drag around, and I'm going to go onto that last stitch that I placed. I remember I pressed enter here, and I have my snap to anchor, so I'm just going to press left click to put my point down and then just return. But now I'm going to start right clicking. And the reason I'm right clicking is to create a couple of these curves. Again, it's really up to you if you want to do left or right. And what I mean by left or right is just doing like straight or curved points. But for me, it really, I mean, at 300% doesn't matter that much. A little bit, but not so much. So I'm just trying to cover the area itself. So I'm just going back and forth trying to take care of all of these little tiny details. Even if it's not perfect, I don't mind, because we are going to be adding other effects on top. What I'm working towards primarily is adding that back and forth. So I want to make sure that I cover each of these strands one way and then returning, one way and then returning, like red work usually works. So here we go. I'm just going around pressing left click, and I can even zoom out if I really want to. You can see down here there's even more that I kind of miss. So you know what, let's just right click and add a couple of more of these, and then right click again to return using curves. I'm going to right click one more time. Honestly, even if they're not on top of each other while returning, I really don't mind, because this is going to be a really cool effect overall on these designs or these stitches right here. So there you go. I'm returning, covering around this area. And even though I'm not doing all of them, that's okay, because we can always go back here. I'll do another one right here and then return and go all the way back up there. Now I'm going to zoom in so you guys can see what's happening. Here I'm just going to add a couple more. And I'm doing right click to do curves. I do left click at the very edge right here. I do a left click so that I can do a straight point. And then right click one more time to continue doing curves. And as you can see, the more you practice, the faster you get at adding these details. So here you go. Now just take note right now that as I'm doing this, I'm currently at 400%. So I'm not super zoomed in at 2000, because that is a little too overkill. So I try to hang around anywhere between 100% and 600% at max. That gives you more than enough detail, more than enough zoomed in for you to get all of those little intricate things that you want to see. But for me, I think this is pretty good, so I'm going to press enter. And you can see, wow, that already looks really, really cool. I'm really enjoying the style of it. So I think what I want to do now is kind of do one more pass, but I'm going to change some of the settings. So in the run tool, what we're going to do is under length, we're just going to maybe switch it to 4.5. And I'm not even going to click on the snap to anchor, because if I were to do that when I change the settings, the snap to anchor will convert my new settings onto the previous stitch settings that we have right now. So I'm just going to disable my snap to anchor. That way it's going to create a new shape right here. You will see it's going to be a second run path, but it's going to be with the new settings. So I'm just going to click super close. That way the auto join will connect them together. And here we go. I'm going to now add a couple of stitches, but this time it's going to be a little bit more random, not so uniform like I was doing before. Here we go. I'm just gonna go around and add some more random ones. Again, I'm gonna add even one more detail after this, so I'm not even worried about having to go 2 paths right above the last stitch that I did. So we're kind of rigging the rules of the run or the red work, but that's okay, because I think it's still gonna look pretty awesome. So here we go, just adding a couple of these stitches and going back and forth, right clicking all the way around. We can even bring it all the way down here, like so. Maybe I'll add a couple more there. And let's add 2 more. And you know what? I think that's about it. I'm gonna leave it at there. So here we go, pressing enter. And now you can see there's a second run path at 355 stitches, but this has different settings than the one we did previously. So that's why I disabled snap to anchor, is because I didn't want the new stitches that I created to automatically switch to the previous ones, because it will make it all in one shape. So now we have a pretty awesome base for this design. What I'm gonna do next is, instead of using the run, because I wanna add even more effects, I'm going to switch to my classic satin. Now the classic satin is a stitch that goes back and forth, so it means that we're gonna be able to do different widths, different settings. So let's set this up, change the density to maybe about 0.6, maybe 0.8. We'll see for now. I think 0.6 should be good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press left click right here at the very end of my last stitch. Now, if you do not see your scissors, that's okay. Just make sure you press the 3 buttons at the top left and make sure that you view your commands, as well as view entry and exit, because that is going to allow you to see the scissors and other settings that are pretty important when editing your design. So left clicking to put my first point down, and very important, I'm just going to make sure that my length is at least 1 millimeter. So right now it's 2.5, and now I want to make sure that my width is at least 1 millimeter. So that's 1.8, 2.1, and I'm going to right click to make it curve. So I'm right clicking to curve it. There you go, right click, and I'm just gonna go all the way around, and I'm doing a point counterpoint method. All of this, guys, you will learn when you check out the software. It's full of information from John and I on how to create all of these kinds of stitches. So I'm going to press enter to create that path up there, and I think that looks wonderful. Now I am going to just create another one somewhere over here. So let's add it somewhere around here. Maybe I don't really need to, but I'm gonna try it anyways. I'm just left clicking to go around and just adding that other place right there. So now we have those awesome stitches. Now, here is where I think I wanna almost experiment a little bit more with this design, and I think it's gonna look really cool. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to take my density and I'm going to bring it up to maybe 2 millimeters. I don't know, we're gonna find out. So I'm going to left click and left click right here to put my first point down, and I'm just going to kind of create a thin little outline, just going right on top of this little area, not too much, and I'm going to press enter. I think that looks pretty good, but I've realized that it has an underlay, and I think all of these have underlays. So click 1, 2, and 3, and let's go to our properties. Now in our properties, we have the underlay, and I'm just gonna take out the underlay because I don't really want any underlay to be on that stitch that we have. It's more of a decorative design, so I don't think it needs underlays. Next, let's just go to our recipes, and I'm going to change it to no recipe, take out the apply existing path so that we don't change anything by accident, and now the satin that we create should have no underlays. Now, let's keep going. We have smart joins, so I can start somewhere over here. And let's go around pressing enter. I'm just adding all of these tiny little details, and I'm left clicking all the way around, point, counterpoint, and so on. So here we go, point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint, and I'm adding a couple of those details. Because we have smart join again, the program is automatically creating all of the start and stops for us, so we don't really have to worry about having to do that manually anymore, which is really awesome. And here you go, on point, counterpoint, all the way back up here. Maybe that was a little bit too much. I don't know. We're gonna find out. I think that looks pretty cool so far. Here we go. And let's just go all the way to the end here, point, counterpoint. And let's even add a couple here. Now I just want to make sure that I do connect these, because otherwise if I, like for example right here, I made that last stitch right at here at the end where you see the scissors. If I were to just start over here, you can see there are trimmings happening. So there's one trim over here and there's another one there. That's because there is enough of a gap between both of these stitches that it will trim. So the software will automatically choose to trim if the shapes are too spaced apart, which is why I'm choosing to connect them and to keep them as close as possible. There you go, only one trim, so now we can keep going. And there we go. The more you practice adding these effects and stuff like that, you become really fast, guys. So practice, practice, practice. Even if you're going a little bit slower and it takes you time to create each of these stitches, that's completely fine. Remember to enjoy the process and see what kind of effects you can create based on the different types of designs, the stitch width, the stitch density that you choose to use with your design. So here we go. Maybe I should have brought it all the way to the end. That's fine. I guess we can go all the way here, and I'll even do a little bit of a hack where even if I want to start over here at that end, I'm just gonna bring it all the way here and just connect it as close as I can. There you go. That's the little trick right there. Now we can even bring this back from this side because the ending is somewhere over here. Perfect. And again, just practicing. At a certain point, when you continue practicing, you no longer feel like you have to continuously map out where your stitches are gonna go next. You almost intuitively know that they should be directed a certain way. So there is a huge benefit to testing out designs. And now that we have this finished, you can see, well, we only have one trim. We started this whole design of one color, and when you look at it, the trim is right here at the end. But I don't think I want the trim at the end, so I'm just going to select it by clicking the select tool or pressing A on your keyboard. And next I'm going to press either Q, or you can go to path edit and just bring it all the way here, because that is now the stop of the design. So that's where it's going to trim. It's just going to look a little bit more hidden than at that end. All right, let's take out the backdrop, and that's looking pretty cool. I like that. I think it definitely looks like a jellyfish. Let's select it all by clicking here, select all, this button, and I'm going to change it to maybe a yellow, maybe an orange, because it is kind of a gold color. Now that we finished the yellow part, we're gonna switch to the color purple, and we are going to do exactly the same thing that we did with the yellow, but we're gonna add one more effect right here, because I think this area looks really, really cool. So you know what, let's get started with here. Instead of us, and let me just switch back to red, and I'm gonna go to my sequence view. I'm gonna collapse all of it and then just select this one, which is the yellow or the gold, and I'm gonna lock it, just so that we don't accidentally mess around with something on the design. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to switch to my artwork, and you can do so by clicking on artwork. You press on your brushes, then artwork, and I'm going to make sure that I have my input set to fast draw. Now all we have to do is press left click, and then I'm going to right click and just go all the way around this design to create the perimeter of the jellyfish. So like so, I'm just going around, and then I'm going to press left click and press enter to create the shape. Now at the bottom, we have a couple of stitches that we can set it to, like motif. We can do gradient fills, we can do color blend fills, we can do wave fills. I think what I want to do is I'm going to set it to a wave gradient fill. So I'm going to press enter, and instantly you can see this really cool looking design. So I'm going to press Q on my keyboard, and that's going to bring up this little blue wave right here. It's a little hard to see, but if I click on it and those nodes, I can change the angle of my wave. So here we go. Maybe I want it to be something a little bit more like that. I don't know, this is cool. There's so many different options that you can choose. So this is why you want to play around, test out your designs, and see what you enjoy the most. So for me, I think I'm almost going to exaggerate this a lot, like it's bubbling up this way. Yeah, I think that looks awesome. And we chose the wave gradient fill, which means that we can go under our properties. As you can see, my density is currently at 2. I can bring it down a little bit more, or I can bring it up if I want to change that. And at the bottom, let's just go all the way down. We're going to click on gradient, and here we have linear increasing, linear decreasing, concave, or we can do convex as well. Now here on our gradient density, let's just bring it down a little bit, and we can change some of the settings. They become a little bit more apparent. So here we go, linear increasing. I think I like it like that. That looks pretty cool. Let's bring this up a little bit more. There's so many options, guys. So let's do 8 millimeters. I think that's looking pretty cool. All right, I'm going to click exit, and now we have that gradient look. If you want, you can add more to it. So you know what? Why don't we do that? Let's next select the classic satin that we did before. So we can press 2 on our keyboard to select classic satin, or you go into your brush and you have classic satin. Here, I'm going to change my density to, I guess we can keep it at 2 millimeters. And you see, this is where the shape is ending. I'm going to press left click, and then right click, right click, right click, right click, and I'm just gonna go around this area like so, and then press enter to create this cool little shape. I think that's looking pretty awesome. If we want, we can go around and add some more. So here we go with the classic satin. I'm just going around and adding more of these cool shapes right here. And then I'm going to switch to my run tool because we want to connect. We don't just want to have a jump. And we're gonna go all the way back down here. Now, all we have left to do is to add the same effect that we did with the other tentacles. But because I think that this is gonna go underneath the gold, I don't really have to add so many. So I'm gonna go even faster and then just right click and do my best to return. But I'm not even gonna go and be as accurate as I was doing so with the gold, because I believe that a lot of these are just gonna go underneath, so they're gonna, go a little bit unnoticed. So here we go, I'm just creating a couple, going back and forth. And let's add a few more. We can stop right there, add a couple, return. And let's go all the way here, return. And I'm just left clicking every time I hit an edge. So right there, I'm going to left click. So I create a straight point, and then I'm going to right click so I can start creating those curve points as I'm going throughout the design. So left when I'm doing an edge, so it's a straight point, and right when I'm doing curves. There we go, all the way around, maybe a couple more right there. That's it. And then I press enter. Ooh, I gotta say, red and gold look really cool for this jellyfish. This could technically be complete, but in my opinion, I think I want to add one more effect, and that's gonna go back to us switching to the classic satin, and then I'm gonna select the density at 2, but maybe we do 1. Now let's keep it at 2. So here we go. Let's just press left and right. So left click to create our point counterpoint. I'm only going to add a couple of ones random here. Oh, I think I accidentally didn't connect them properly. So let me just make sure that I do so, because I don't want this design to be trimming at all. There you go. I am forgetting to do so. So I'm going to click select right here on this last stitch that I made, so this one, and then I'm going to click on my path edit. Let's see, it's starting over here. I don't want it to start there. I want it to start up here where those scissors are at, and here we go. Now we only have one trim so far for this color, so that's awesome. Here I'll add a couple of more. Let's see, just adding a few. And again, I try not to look at it too closely because, again, these are just effects, guys. They are little stitches that when you build the whole design, it just looks awesome. And we don't really have to overcomplicate it by planning everything so meticulously. and it's more fun this way. So here we go. Just go around, left clicking. I'm just making sure that I do at least 1 millimeter in width. That's the most important part when using the classic satin. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm pretty happy with the result. So here we go. I'll add a couple more there and one more right here. And we're almost done. You know what? I think I'm going to finish that shape right there. So let's now grab the red and let's switch it to a purple or maybe a light purple. I think that one's cooler. And we're gonna bring it up this way, like so. Ooh, now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to hide the backdrop. So click View Backdrop and just disable that. And I think that is looking so cool. We can do Control B on our keyboard to bring the background, and I'm just gonna change it to black. And oh man, that looks awesome. Now, if you really wanted to, you can add even more colors. So you can add a light, I guess you could say a light yellow, even a white to it. You can even add a gray. But I think for now, I just want to test out this design on these two colors. Last thing to do is to save this design. I'm going to click on Save As, and I'm going to save this, very important, JDX, so Jellyfish. Okay, save it as a JDX because that is your native file format that is going to allow you to go back and edit this design in the future. So save, and now I'm going to click Save As one more time, and I'm going to save it as a Tajima DST because that's what we run here. So save it as a DST. You would save it as a Brother PES or JEF depending on the machine file format that you have. Well, the design is ready, so let's take it onto the embroidery machine and I'll show you the result. And that's the end result of this jellyfish design. With just two simple colors and some awesome tools, we're able to create intricate looking designs. Inner Circle members, don't forget to download your lesson files below. Not a member yet? Join the Inner Circle and get access to exclusive bonuses, hands-on training, and everything you need to master embroidery digitizing. Click the link in the description to get started. Want to keep learning? Check out these tutorials next and take your embroidery skills even further.